Who says you need to be an engineer to make a car from scratch? Not me, because this is what I put together after about 8 months of weekends. It's called the SloKart. It's a go-kart, but it's slow. It does about 15 kilometers an hour top speed. The reason being, it's made to take a lot of weight. So torque was more important than actual top speed, and considering the kind of ground it travels on, anything more than that speed is probably going to be slightly dangerous anyway. So as you can see, it's pretty awesome at climbing hills. It's lightweight, aluminium, and even with someone sitting on the back, you wouldn't even notice what difference it makes to the actual top speed of the vehicle. So here we are approaching Layla, who's obviously unimpressed that we left her behind and giving us filthy looks from behind the fence. Sorry, Layla. Oh, you little sweetie. Anyway, the reason for the SloKart is we like to burn wood on our property, keeps us warm. There you can see some of the spare firewood. And here you can see where the firewood comes from. Downhill. It's always downhill. All the firewood, downhill. There's more firewood. Downhill. And up till now, the only way of getting it is to use one of these, and pushing one of these things uphill with more than 50 odd kilos of firewood in it, not a great idea. So here are the options. Had a quick look online, and wheelbarrows that are power assisted have a pretty crazy price. You're looking at $2,000 to $4,000 for something that probably has a lead acid battery, and I didn't think that was a really great price. And so in my mind, I thought I could just make my own. And so I dropped some plans, pretty basic, just a aluminium platform sitting on a couple of wheels and some batteries underneath the seat. And surely that'll be enough to gather some firewood by sticking it on the back. So I just went online, found all these cheap parts on eBay. Basically everything you need to get the thing going. The batteries, the controllers, little joints and sprockets and steering columns, and all the bits and pieces I need to put together my little project, apart from actually the frame, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, once they all arrived, I just roughly placed it all out to see how it would vaguely go together. So there you can see the front end with the steering assembly attached, and there's the back axle with the that's the brake disc and the drive sprocket, one on either side. No differentials or anything like that, that's fine. The whole thing is just for off-road use. There's the steering wheel and some cardan joints to actually connect the steering column to the rack and pinion. So here's the actual material for the frame. It was a scaffolding plank, and I took it all apart. I got it for free from a neighbour. He was moving house and didn't want to take it with him. So that's 18 metres of aluminium, which I'll cheerfully chop into pieces. And there's another donor. It's the Moto Guzzi motorcycle. So there's the rear suspension that I'll be stealing from it. And also some spare aluminium in the way of another aluminium ladder I've got lying around, which I don't particularly have a use for. So I guess the idea was just to chop it all up according to the plans and TIG weld the whole thing together. Yeah, starting off with all the simple box frame bits and pieces. So here I am laying it out on the ground to see how it's all coming together, get a feel for the scale of it all. There's the rear end. It'll be pivoted from those two arms, and there's the Guzzi shock absorbers where they'll be fitted to. And so the next thing is just a whole lot of TIG welding to get all this put together. It's one of many joints. And there we have the front end looking a bit more like a front end, and the rear of the frame all welded up. Pay no attention to my bad TIG welding. And there's how the front end will attach to the actual frame. So next thing would be the, I guess the front suspension. Basic suspension. It'll just pivot left and right just to keep the wheels on the ground, but I didn't bother with up and down. So as you can see, this is the front end upside down. It's just got a few springs there to actually keep the wheels on the ground, but not so much give it suspension. And here's the 5-to-1 reduction ratio gearbox. It's meant to have a centrifugal clutch in it, which I'm obviously not using, so I had to remove all of that and fit a sprocket to it instead. So you can see one sprocket on one end and one sprocket on the other end, and that should give me a 5-to-1 reduction on top of the additional reduction to the actual sprocket on the axle, which should give it about 20-to-1 in total reduction. So there's the seat pan, which is upside down, which is going to fit in the middle there with the seat on it, and underneath it will be the actual electronics to actually run to the battery and to the motor. Coming together quite nicely. You can see the rear tray, and that's where the batteries go in the middle, and they're the little swing arms that should pivot from the frame to give up-down suspension to the rear end, so that when it's under load with lots of wood on the back, it's got a bit of bounce in the back. Not totally essential with the speed it goes. It probably didn't need suspension at all. So that's it for part 1. Do watch part 2 to see where this little project ends up going.